edition. Guess who's here for OGs of wrestling? Ain't no competition, we report, you gon' listen. Never no mercy, we bring the ring to the streets. If you don't know, you better find out off the ropes. Here to prove a point, number one in the league. Bet you don't wanna tussle with us, know where to hide or run. Step in the ring, you're done, you're never stepping out again.
So you're back on the wolf pack.
Off the roof, representing that 617 area.
So you're back on the wolf pack.
No other podcast out here more scarier.
So you're back on the wolf pack.
Wrestling entertainment news reported by the Bears.
So you're back on the wolf pack. You might wind up in a body bag.
Took your chances, now it's time to show you what's on. In the ring, off the ropes, best believe that we strong. Day in, day out, off the ropes for life. Shiznit, E-Wiz, Fast Crew on the mic. Town be the city where we make our own rules. Stomping on you can't fit our shoes. Off the ropes, a crowd pleaser, conquering like Caesar. Lean on us like Pisa when you need your wrestling re-up.
So you're back on the wolf pack.
Off the roof, representing that 617 area.
So you're back on the wolf pack.
No other podcast out here more scarier.
So you're back on the wolf pack.
Wrestling entertainment news reported by the Bears.
So you're back on the wolf pack. You might wind up in a body bag.
Proper way. Welcome to another episode of Off the Top Rope Podcast. I'm the main man, the host of the show. Back in the bitch. Shout out to Anchor for giving us whatever we need to make the podcast happen. Know what the hell to find us to, keep in tune with all our stuff. Social medias, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Off the Top Ropes, and you can check out any podcast platform available that we have it on, and as well as YouTube. Today, the AfterDark episode. Shout out to Shocker G for that melody. So we're gonna go behind the scenes in the independent wrestling circuit, and more importantly, this was long overdue. Matter of fact, kind sir. So different scheduling kind of kept us, gotta go back and forth with it. But nonetheless, I'm going to introduce you, my main man James Johnson, to the show, man. What's going on with your player PM?
It ain't nothing much, man. How y'all been over there?
Everything's everything. Slowly setting the course for season 3. Trying to just, try to get that momentum and start working on the new stuff at hand for the podcast, and getting more viewers. That's all we really have to do right now. So that's us from our perspective right now. So what's new with you, man? What's going on in the independent wrestling scene for you? How's things going up ever since this pandemic had kind of started since last year, and now it's been actually 1 full year as of right now. How's that been treating you ever since? Like, what's been going on? Have you been still doing bookings, or is it like a kind of on and off thing right now?
Man, I was actually one of the really lucky ones whenever the pandemic first hit. Like, the first month after it hit, it was like there was no places that were running. Nobody could find any work anywhere. But after that first initial month, I was blessed with opportunities in a few places that were able to run out of their own little venues and doing empty arena shows and things like that. And ever since, April of last year, I've been managing to keep work up, and on a pretty consistent basis too, man. I don't know too many people that were actually wrestling more than me during the pandemic, with the exception of guys like, Rob Killjoy. If there's a wrestling show going on, a way to get there and be a part of it.
Yeah, it's totally understandable, especially when with all this going on now, everything is so uncertain. Now we start to slowly see this vaccination that's kind of start circling around, and see how that plays out. But there's still situations with that. So I don't know how this whole thing is going to play out for the next couple of months. But I hope and pray that this does not affect you first and foremost. Hope pray that you still keep the motor going, and being able to, so we all can get past this, folks. Yeah, man. But let's just start from the very beginning, man. Of course, we all were children at one point in our lives. My guy was The Undertaker. So let's just go back to your childhood when it comes to wrestling, man. How did that come into play? Who was your guys, and what was that moment when you said, "Wow, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life"?
Well, let me see. If we're going all the way back, because I've been watching wrestling about as long as I can remember. My mom was a big WCW, NWA fan, but in our house, we only got the channel that had the WWE on it. So we were watching that. Man, I feel like my answer is very stereotypical because he is technically the greatest in-ring performer. You know, at least 90% of the population says that, and it's Shawn Michaels, right? Like I just remember being wowed by him, and I only watched him for a few years because he originally hung it up like around 97, 98, and I was only 4 or 5 years old back then. But I just remember he stuck out to me. He's so charismatic, and all of his matches were just different than everybody else's at the time, and it really stuck out to me. But like, and then when he came back, he was still my favorite. So like, no time passed after, or it seemed like no time passed in between when he hung it up and when he first came back. And he had that match with Triple H at SummerSlam. It's like he didn't lose a single step, and he kind of proved everybody right whenever they said he was the greatest in-ring performer, in my opinion, anyway.
That's dope. And when he came back in 2002, I was 12 years old. So how old? So how old was you when he came back in 2002?
He came back in 2002. I had to be like 9 years old, man. Like I was born.
Awesome. He was right in the prime of the childhood. Be like, oh my God, he came back. Yes. For me, I was like, thank God he came back. Cause like, yo, we actually did miss him low key. But that was me like at that 12-year-old stage. Um, then as time passes on, started looking at other wrestling schools myself. And then, Mom Deuce kind of convinced me to go the other route with it for right now to figure out stuff later. For you, when did that come into play? Like, how did it work out for you? What was the thought of you saying, okay, if I want to take this thing serious, this is what I need to do. This is what I need to figure out. And how do I get myself from here to get in the industry of wrestling?
It's funny. It's always like everybody's always told me they had the minute where they, all right, cool, I can do this, and they went at it. But as long as I remember, like from childhood up until I actually did start to pursue it, I always felt like there was like I knew I had to do it at least at some level. So as soon like I was looking up like wrestling schools at like 12, 13 years old, and like, trying to hustle to find like money to get to go to the wrestling school. But a majority of wrestling schools won't even take a look at you until you hit 18, because if you think about it, there are states that require you to have a wrestling license, and you can't get those until you turn 18. And I was
Mm-hmm.
looking at South Carolina, which is like the main state that's like strict commission rules and stuff like that. So no, none of the wrestling schools would touch me. But leading up to training and stuff, like when I first started training, I feel like I had the most training experience because I got trained like 4 or 5 times, because like there are guys out here that will rob you of your money and like not teach you anything like at
Mm-hmm.
all. And like it took me, like I was wrestling for 2 years before I came into the Palmetto Wrestling Academy, which is still my home school. I go there every chance I can because there's always more you can learn. And just because you start wrestling doesn't mean you stop learning. But Ethan Case, Malachi Matthews, and Billy Brash really, they showed me the way that wrestling is versus the way that people think wrestling was. And it really helped. Like as soon as I started training with them, like doors opened, people talked about how much I had improved and things like that. And it was night and day, really. Like it was nuts.
Mhm. And anything from that experience, do you still apply that to your current wrestling style in a situation today, or do you learn from people as you go along working into other promotions?
Uh, I still use everything I learned at Palmetto Wrestling Academy, and it's mainly because they do teach you so much. Like they don't just teach you one way to wrestle. Ethan Case, I don't know if you're familiar with him or not,
Mm-hmm.
but he
I am.
is he is by far one of the most like knowledgeable trainers in the Carolinas, if not the East Coast in general, because he's always had this mindset ever since he started wrestling that he wants to be a teacher. So instead of just getting trained once and being good with that, he went after he finished training at one school, he went to another school to learn how they train, and he did that with each school that he felt had the best of each style. Like he can wrestle,
Mm-hmm.
he can do all the high flying stuff, even though he doesn't do it. He's very good at the lucha style. Uh, his character work is impeccable. He can call matches on the fly. He can plan out the super indie banger matches. Like there's genuinely nothing the guy can't do. And I'm focusing mainly on Ethan as opposed to Malachi Matthews and Billy Brash because they're both very good at all those things too. But I'm focusing on Ethan because he's the one that's still the head trainer of the Palmetto Wrestling Academy. Malachi and Billy Brash both went to pursue like in their own careers, and I'm sure they're going to circle back around to training because they're both very, very knowledgeable, and like that their input in my career can't be overstated. Like they both help mold me into who I am.
That's cool. That's an interesting take though. Like to still hold on to those core lessons, but you still want to go and train and work a different style, so you can always be like people always want to try to be like either one statistic, like either a specialist or something, or a technician, a brawl, or whatever. But to go and actually go around and try to learn other other styles of the sport is fascinating to me, and that will make you like the best overall performer.
Yes, sir. That's
And
uh,
I hope and pray that's gonna be one of your goals too. If you do, you're gonna stand there like a sore damn thumb.
it is a goal of mine to be somebody that you can trust to wrestle anybody and to have a good match with them because that's the impression that my trainers left on people. I mean, as of right now, like I know specifically, like I'm very good at certain things and I'm proficient in others and I'm passable in some other aspects. I don't really think there's anything I'm horrible at, but different eyes, could probably be differently, which is fine. But I feel like if you do travel that path to where you learn each and every style at least a little bit, like you become invaluable to promoters because they don't have to worry about who they put you with and if there's going to be a style clash. Like you can work with anybody and they're going to take note of that.
And that's so many people I can think about in the industry right now that's in that type of predicament. But I don't want to throw out no names. Yeah, man. So when did you decide that you want to? I mean, excuse me, we got past that. Excuse me, wrong card. When did you find your rest of the school, and how did that whole scenario play out for you as far as getting in the ring, getting fit again, but more importantly, getting your ass beat and knowing how to take the bumps?
Well, at first I got trained just because somebody introduced me to somebody else. Like I lived literally 4 miles up the road from Hacksaw Jim Duggan. His nephew introduced me to some guy he said he was gonna go train with, and then he didn't end up training with him, and I figured out why when I went to train with him, and I basically just got the crap kicked out of me 2 weeks, and they were like, "You're trained," and that's the worst way to like go about wrestling because you don't really you can't learn wrestling in 2 weeks. Like
I was just going to say that. How the hell you were supposed to learn the sport in 2 weeks?
I didn't even learn. I I didn't even have any fundamentals in 2 weeks, like at all. Like, I had
Hmm.
no idea what he was thinking. But as far as the Palmetto Wrestling Academy goes, that situation's actually a little bit unique as well because I had quit wrestling for a little bit, and then I was thinking about getting back into it, and I was scrolling through Facebook, and I was in a couple for sale groups, and I was going to take myself out of them. And the owner of Palmetto Championship Wrestling actually used to advertise through Facebook for sale groups before they had Marketplace and all that. And I looked at it and I sent him a message and I was like, "Hey, uh, I've been trained. I don't know if my training is where it's supposed to be." And then I met up with him, and like we ended up getting a great rapport with each other, and we actually, me, him, and a core group of guys really started that promotion before there was a school. Like we ran shows for like
Mhm.
2 years before they actually had a school, and that's when Ethan Case came in. He reached out to Shane, who was the owner of Palmetto Championship Wrestling, and he asked him how serious he was about having a school type atmosphere. And Shane said, "If you're the trainer, we would love it." And then the rest has been history since then. So we actually were running shows for 2 years before I got any good training.
And now, and now, look at you now. But for your gimmick, you totally give me a whole dude love persona. Not, I mean, not to sound crucial or anything, but just from the way that I look at your stuff,
Yeah.
say he's a he's a dude love, but he's a brawler. He's a bruiser though, but I can respect it. So can you just tell us about more of your, I can't say character, more of your gimmick?
Yeah, that's man, you got some good questions because these are all really fun stories. Uh,
And that's what we're here for.
my first character was god awful. Like I will be the first one to admit, like I didn't know what in the hell I was doing. I My first character was basically just like it was nothing. I wore a black singlet with black tights with red font on them, and I thought that's what it like. I thought I looked cool, which is like the worst. Like, don't just do something because you think it looks cool. Like that's just something in life in general. Because eventually you're not gonna think it looks cool anymore. Uh, but
I mean, you can put Andre the Giant out. I mean, well, depending on your body size
yeah,
and like that, but gotta be careful with those.
but I that first gimmick was rough, man. I was like if you stuck the Undertaker in the dryer. And bro, I'm like 5'8" tall. Like, I, me trying to look like a badass is just the funniest thing to see. Like, and it was bad. Like, and there were people that told me it was bad, but they were like, you can still do it. It's fine. But like I figured out like I wasn't having fun doing it because when you're the you're this dark, brooding character. You have to be mad all the time, and it's just so freaking tiring. So I was like, okay, well, I just want to have fun. And I told that to Ethan, Malachi, and Brash. And Malachi and Ethan both came to the conclusion that, well, you kind of look like a hippie. And I hate it. I hated that.
Cheech and Chong.
I absolutely hated that answer so much, man. Like, as soon as they said it, I was like, ew, no, next. Can't do it. Won't do it. And like, we were like, oh, they didn't force it on me or anything like that, but they were like, okay, we'll go back to the drawing board. We'll figure something else out. But like, the more that we would bring up ideas, they would keep circling back to it. And I was like, I really.
Oh, like Vince McMahon. Anytime when someone comes into his company and now they all got throw gimmicks at them, like, okay,
Yeah.
well, we all got something for you, pal.
They weren't
Damn.
they weren't forcing it on me by any means, but they were like,
Okay.
they were trying to like, they were actively trying to come up with different ideas, and their ideas kept morphing back to the hippie thing. And first, I hated it. I told them no, and then I was like, well, fine, whatever, I'll try it. It's like the old quote, you know, you got to try them on. It's like a pair of pants. At first, you know, they don't quite fit right, and after a while, you're like, hey, these are the best pair of pants I've ever worn.
Oh my God, this is Jake the Snake Roberts all the way. And the only reason why I remember that is because the story time that they have on the WWE Network. He talked about how that meeting with Vince was, and Vince McMahon was trying to give him some crazy ass gimmick, but the way that he sold it, it was like, I don't know, that's not gonna work, and this all that gonna take over. But he just that quote right there, but it was like it was like a light bulb which just went off in my head.
Yeah,
Wow.
and then like when I say the first I did it and I realized how reacted to it, I was like, damn, I'm gonna be a freaking hippie. Like,
So go be on hippy dippy.
and at first I leaned so super heavy into the hippie thing, and I realized I was having fun doing it, which is the thing I wanted to begin with. So they were right, I was wrong. Yeah, like you never really like when you have to tell your parents they're right, but you have to do it anyway. But I just I started having so much fun doing it that like I just it was the perfect fit, and I don't know why, like, to this day, why I had such reservations with it. And it may be because like the pre notion in my head was like, dude love, I don't want to be dude love. but but like I like once we finally got rolling with it and everything, like at first leaned super heavy into the hippie thing, and then once we got all that established, it was very easy to just put more and more of myself in there. And like now I feel like we have this really good mesh of like I am the character, more of the backdrop as opposed to like finding how I perform. Like anybody that knows me, like they can see me in there, and that's the important part for me.
Yeah, I mean the whole hippie part kind of was kind of obvious, but then again, it's like how many other people, like how many other wrestlers will have thick beards like that, but that can get away with the gimmick that it's like it's so appropriate for them. It's like I can't see Braun Strowman without having his beard now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I figured like this whole thing, it's like a real traditional trademark, but certain people can rock it. You can.
Yeah, it was very important. Like whenever I first figured out I was going to do the hippie thing, like I gave myself a few months to like grow my beard out and like get some tie-dye stuff made, and like I wanted, if I was gonna do it, I was gonna like jump into the deep end of it. I didn't
Yep.
I didn't want to half-ass it, man. Like that's the worst thing to me is when people are like, I'm gonna do this character, and then they just kind of like stick their toe in the water. Like, no, if you're gonna do it, do it. Like, there's no other way to say it. You can't halfway do anything, or people are gonna point out the flaws in it immediately.
That's right. Hey, it's true. It's true. Shit, I mean, I can say the same thing about Heath Ledger diving into the Joker character. We all know how that. We all know how that ended up to be.
Yeah.
God rest his soul too. Whew. But nonetheless, let's now promotion for promotion. How many promotions have you worked since the beginning till now, and what's the highest accolades that you have received thus far?
Oh my lord. I don't keep a track of the promotions I work for anymore. I did it first, but like what people have to realize in independent wrestling, most promotions run once a month, if that. Like there's a promotion down in Thompson, Georgia, Viral Pro Wrestling. They run bi-monthly. They only run 6 shows a year. So that's 6 bookings, and you have 52 weeks out of a year. So you have to fill the rest of those dates with any promotions you can. And the goal is never to be the big fish in the small pond, which not saying any of these promotions are small ponds, but in the greater scheme of things, you don't want to just be like the guy that's really good in the Southeast. You want to be the guy that's really good all the way across the country. And then eventually you want to be the guy that's really good internationally. So I've wrestled all up and down the East Coast, Tennessee, Philadelphia, Florida. I haven't made it to New York or New Jersey yet, but there are some talks going on right now. North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia. Been to West Virginia a few times. I'm trying to think of any other states I have. I think I've been to Indianapolis. There's been bookings in Chicago, and like naming off the states is like, oh man, how many promotions have you worked for in each state?
Nah, that's a real deep question. You might actually lose track.
Yeah, that's why I just stopped keeping track of, like, I know like my main promotions that I work for, like, and I make sure I get all of their dates ahead of time, just so there's no miscommunication, so I don't have to miss any dates on the promotions that I really like working for. Like there's like Palmetto is always going to be like my priority, because that's kind of like my baby, even though it's not mine. But like I've seen it since we started it, and I've seen what it's grown into, and I always want to be a part of it. But at some point or another, like hopefully it gets to the point where a huge opportunity comes, and instead of telling me I have to take their booking, they'll push me to go take the other one, which I'm sure they will at some point. But like Palmetto is my home. So that's the main one that I make sure I'm there for. As far as like, what was the other part of the question you said?
No, I was your highest accolade, like me, like championship wins or best rivalries thus far, or just simply just your best matches.
Oh man, I've won tag team championships in Viral Pro Wrestling with Wade Adams. We were managed by my good friend Sammy Ray. Uh, I've won tag team championships in Extreme Shock Wrestling. I've also won their heavyweight title. Uh, one of my favorite accolades of all time was that I've wrestled in front of 1,400 people, which was just nuts. Like it was a feeling I'll never forget because I don't even know if they were all wrestling fans, but they were so loud. And they were like the energy. It's something I hold on very near and dear to, especially in times like this when you're not really allowed to have that kind of crowd. But like as far as championships go, I haven't won very like I don't win very many championships because promoters feel that the money with me is chasing the title, which I don't disagree with at all. Because once you win a title, the only thing you have to do with it is lose it. But when you're chasing it, there's a million options. But I've won tag team a couple of tag team titles. Palmetto, I won the now defunct PCW United States title. It's it's not a title there anymore because it transitioned over to the Soda City Championship, which is way cooler. I didn't get to win that one though.
Well, but you still got hope for that title, right?
Oh,
Okay, yeah. So as long as you're not saying like, okay, like I'm probably never gonna go back to that promotion,
yeah,
then that door will be closed. But if you still believe that like you can in the future, no, leave that door open for you.
absolutely. Like there's always the chance to win it, but like I look at it sometimes and I was like, I missed the boat on this championship by 3 months. Like it's a beautiful championship. It really is. One of the most beautiful championships in the Carolinas for sure. Uh, I've won the Haliotsko Memorial Cup, which is a tournament held by my good friend Gene Perry for his daughter. She passed away of cancer. I'm not sure how long ago it's been now, but it's a cause that's very near and dear to my heart because my father passed away from cancer when I was about 5 years old.
Sorry for that,
Yeah,
man.
every time he has that tournament, if he wants me there, I'm going to be there because it makes me feel a little bit closer. And it's really beautiful to see what he does for his daughter every year with that tournament. And all the proceeds from it go straight to the hospice care that took care of Holly before she died. And I think that's like a real class act from him. And then the biggest accolade I've had so far is that I won the CPWA Wrestler of the Year for the Carolinas in 2020.
Oh, shit. Congratulations to that one, man. Really do.
Yeah. It's actually really nuts because like I had never even been nominated for an award at the CPWAs like ever. And I've been wrestling in the Carolinas for 6 years now. And this was the first year that I even got nominated, and somehow I walked out with like their prestige, like the most prestigious award. And that really it means the world to me because I was up against some of the best wrestlers in the world, not just in the Carolinas. Like guys like J.D. Drake, Timmy Lou Retton, uh, Austin Jordan, and there was a whole lot. They had 8 finalists for that award, and I couldn't believe that I was the one that won it. It was very humbling, and it made me realize that I do have people in my corner who really want to see me succeed.
Yes, sir, indeed. And from Heat for us here at OTDO, we definitely congratulate you too on that success because that's a milestone that's gonna get others to look at you like if he's really this person that we need to bring him in, maybe he can help out with the talent pool in our locker room. And that can really be a great thing for other promotions that's gonna have your services to know like see that he's a team worker player.
Yes, sir. That's what I think.
And so when it comes yeah, I guess last question, man. I want you to hold up you like anyone long. So what's the future looking like for James Johnson within the next like few years, man? Where you see yourself going? Are you still going to be in the business, or what do you think it's going to be a good time to try to go for the big leagues, or are you going to go another route and go overseas?
That's a really good one. That's a damn good one to end on for sure. Um, it's hard to say for sure, man. Because if I'm being honest with you, there was a period this year when I thought like I was done wrestling, and it was back or not this year. It was last year around October. I was convinced I was having my last match ever. I didn't tell anybody I was gonna quit. I was just gonna have the match and then just disappear. I don't ever want to make like a giant spectacle out of when I leave. Like that's just not the way I operate. But I had a match with Anthony Henry, and he is by far one of the best wrestlers on the planet. And it shows because he just got signed to WWE, and he's in Florida now at the Performance Center, killing it. And I'm looking forward to seeing him on NXT. But I was gonna wrestle him because it's a match that I've wanted since I started wrestling, and then I was going to just be done. And but he kind of changed my mind on everything because he didn't even know, but he came up to me and he was the most professional human being. Like he was genuinely like nicest dude, and like he treated me as an equal, even though he already knew he was going to WWE. They had already told him.
Right.
Like he,
But always stay humble to
yeah,
your beginnings and stuff because you never get there without that. I mean, I'm saying without
he
that.
didn't have to do that for me. Like his future was signed, sealed, and delivered. He could have just told me, "Hey man, I'm not really trying to do much. I got to make sure I'm healthy for this trip." No, he wanted to like have a damn good match with me, and like he expressed interest in doing that. And what made it extra special is he was already booked to wrestle on that show, but he requested to wrestle twice just so he could wrestle me because he knew I wanted to wrestle. And
Wow.
that made me feel like I wasn't done because like it reminded me of all the stuff I love about wrestling as opposed to like the negatives you hear all the time. And like but yeah, like I foresee myself in wrestling for the next few years for sure. Like I don't see me going anywhere now, especially because like he lit a fire under my ass to get me going. And I honestly feel like without him, there wouldn't have been a Wrestler of the Year award for me. Um, I'm definitely going to be in wrestling. Um, a few opportunities are popping up that might get eyes on me for they the bigger promotions, like, and maybe not. I don't know, but I might end up making a living off of this in the foreseeable future, which would be dope because that means I could just spend all of my time doing this. I honestly I foresee myself more in the giving back position as opposed to worrying about myself, which is a blessing and a curse. And it's something that me and Ethan have had to talk about a lot because he sees a lot of parallels between myself and him, and he knows how selfless I can be because he was the same way, and he wants me to look after myself a little bit more than he did, but at the same time, like he's my example, so I'm probably not gonna do that. But man, I foresee myself for sure, wrestling for the next few years. Who knows? After a while, I might start up my own school. I doubt it. I don't have the patience to be a trainer. I really don't. Like, and it may be something I gain with more time. Like, who's to say where I'll be at 10 years from now? But like, I've got this really good group of guys that like I want to see succeed so bad, and I won't name them on here because they'll be all embarrassed. But they're like they're kind of like my kids, man. Like every time they have bookings, they send me the videos. It's beautiful. Like it makes me feel like a good human being because like it means a lot to me when people seek out my opinion because I don't really think as highly about myself as other people think about me. I think, but like yeah, man, like it's gonna be a good couple of years no matter what because I feel like with the support system I have and the amount of people in my corner, like the sky's the limit, and I can take whatever I want out of this world. Like all it is like that positive mindset. Just like push yourself, and then the world is yours. Is pretty much how I'm going with my life right now.
Live wild and free. That's what it is. Oh man, James. I want to thank you for taking the time out to come on to this show, man. Having this chit chat with us, man. Greatly appreciate it, man. This was long overdue for us anyway. But really, I thank you for being here on the show with
I
us.
appreciate you having me on, man. I'll come back anytime y'all want if we can get our schedule.
Yeah, man, we definitely do appreciate that. And this is where we give you the time to give us the plugs, the connects, do your shout outs, where to find you, where to buy your merchandise from. This is your platform right now, so you got the floor.
You can check me out on Facebook. Just look up James Johnson. It's real hard to miss me, dude. Big beard, tie-dyed. I think I'm wearing a tie-dyed T-shirt with the sleeves cut off of it in my profile picture. At Twitter and on Instagram, it's at tie-dye_Johnson. All you have to do to buy my merch is hit me up directly, and we'll work something out. Keep an eye out. I'm going to start up a Twitter and an Instagram for my new tag team that I have with my daughter Selena Rose. We're about to start going here, there, and yonder. Not sure what the handle will be, but I'll be back on to let y'all know about that whenever. But I appreciate you having me. It's been great being on the Off the Top Ropes podcast. If you ever want me back, all you gotta do is holler.
Yes, we will. Yes, we will. We definitely will later on down the line. Maybe for season 4 when we come back. Yeah, we'll definitely have you back on later. Till then, folks, we'll be back with our regularly scheduled programming on Sunday for the weekly recap and review and news. See what's going on the covered week of professional wrestling in the news and rumors. What's going on with Andrade now being released for WWE? Where do you think he's gonna go? And no, Dukes, I know you're probably going to say this somewhere. AEW. Let's not go there. But nonetheless, folks, tune in later on this week. And also tune into the new episodes that I just threw up on the podcast platforms and on YouTube, a 2-part special episode where we introduced the new blood into the group. CrossFit Mini, chronologically blended discussions podcast owner Bobby Westside, and you got my main man, Mr. Maverick, about to make his debut real soon. Till then, folks, James, thank you for coming on. Folks, hear from y'all Sunday.